2:22 Eastern Standard Time. And just as I say that, 2:23 Eastern Standard Time here on January 18th, 2026. Divisional round weekend and the NFL postseason rolls on. And I figured before the first of two today, which begins in a little over 30 minutes time between the Patriots and Texans in Foxborough, I figured, hey, why don't we get caught up to speed on what took place yesterday in day one of these playoff games, what we learned from some of the potential candidates, the head coach candidates, that is, potential other staffing as well, that played yesterday, that will play coming up today, and kind of just put it all together in terms of where the head coach list looks for the Ravens right now, a name that you can definitely cross off, being that the Falcons hired and made their guy official yesterday, and have a whole conversation prior to, again, 3 o'clock kickoff at Gillette Stadium. I'm Bobby Trosset. As always, today's brought to you by my friends at FanDuel. Great to have them sponsoring the program all of 2026 in this upcoming year. Preston Automotive Group, as always, showing support of the channel. My longest-standing sponsors. You can scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner if you're interested in learning more. And I do want to welcome Steve Chauvin and shout him out for becoming my newest and latest channel member. That is Trosseteer status for you, Steve. Appreciate you guys for being with me. If you'd like to vote in the poll as well, go ahead and do so. And as always, if your candidate is not in the poll and is not one of the four options that I chose today, based on how I've been following the process, then go ahead and make your commentary and make your opinion and your take known in the live chat. Almost 100 votes coming up. Clint Kubiak, after dominating last night in primetime, leads the way early at 68% as we get off and running. And my goodness, what if I told you several months ago that the big four, as this graphic from Bleacher Report Gridiron notes it, the big four in the AFC would all be out after divisional round weekend. We all would have signed up for saying whoever told us that or stated that that might be the case or predicted that would be nuts. But that is the reality today. Mahomes, Lamar, Allen as of last night, and Burrow, all four, the big four that is in the AFC, are out as the NFL playoffs roll on. And if that's not, one, a sign of the times in this conference, but also an understanding that, hey, there are maybe one or two players on this list just because of, hey, you're not getting any younger and tomorrow's not guaranteed. And there is a change of the guard, if you will, with other AFC teams that are coming onto the scene. There's a very real scenario that the three quarterbacks that you see on this graphic may end up being Dan Marino when it's all said and done. What do I mean by that? They may have better resumes. Lamar may end up finishing with a better resume than a Dan Marino, but there's no guarantee that Lamar, Josh, and Joe will all walk away after their respective careers are finished with a Super Bowl title. And that is crazy to think, but it is reality. That could very well happen over the next decade or so, depending on how things shake out. And speaking of shaking out, the 2018 draft class at the quarterback position. We all know what the first round consisted of. Baker Mayfield was drafted first overall by Cleveland. Sam Darnold went third overall to the Jets. Josh Allen, 7th to Buffalo. Josh Rosen, 10th to Arizona. He's no longer in the league. And Lamar, of course, thanks to Ozzie and company, trading into the first round, selecting him 32nd overall. And as Chase Snyder kind of summarizes this perfectly, last night he's like, can't believe this just hit me. We aren't talking enough about the very fact that Sam Darnold has a very real chance to be the first quarterback in the 2018 draft class to win a Super Bowl. Riddle me that one. We'll get to Seattle in just a bit. I'm going to start with the first of those two games as a summary in terms of what we watched yesterday play out between the Bills and the Broncos at Mile High. It was a game that will be talked about for the ages, and that's where we begin. Bo Nix, of course. And look, this is one of those shows where I'm sure the first maybe half will be a review of teams that are not what you signed up for in terms of your fandom. But I'd ask you to have a little bit of patience with me today, because every single one of these teams are damn near close to it, has a candidate that the Ravens have at least initially looked at or will look at in the days ahead, including today with Robert Saleh being the in-person. I don't think it's an in-person interview, being that he was on the West Coast as of just hours ago. But they will conduct their first interview with 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh tonight. So just bear with me. Obviously, this is a different Sunday for the first time in a long time. No game to be played, no game to be covered from a Ravens perspective. But we do have a couple today and, of course, yesterday. And how can you not start with the story of the entire weekend? Bo Nix and company lead Denver to victory in last-second fashion over the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen drops to 0-7 in overtime games since becoming a Bill. And they're flying high. My sister was out there with her fiance. They live in Denver. It was just a remarkable performance, an instant classic. But as Ravens fans know well, when you're on the wrong end of instant classics, oh, it burns, and it burns badly. And look, Denver was on the right side. They're moving on to the AFC Championship game, and they await the winner of this first one today between the Texans and the Patriots. But not before learning that Bo Nix would not be with them and won't be with them for the foreseeable future, having fractured a bone in his ankle on the second to last play of the game. He's going to miss the rest of the season. Jarrett Stidham, their backup quarterback, will start an AFC Championship game coming up next weekend. Bo was exceptional, 26 of 46, 308 total yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Denver's defense, are you kidding me? 5 total turnovers that they committed, meaning that they produced, 4 of which came from Josh Allen. We'll get to that in just a second. But in comes Jarrett Stidham, Sean Payton last night.
Last play in overtime, Bo fractured a bone in his right ankle. He's scheduled to have surgery Tuesday of this week, which will put him out for the rest of the season. Steady's ready to go. And it was the second to last play before he threw the pass to Mims.
Unbelievable. It's just, look, the reason why I'm bringing this up, one, it's the biggest story in the NFL today. But how about Davis Webb? Davis Webb is the quarterback's coach, pass game coordinator in Denver, one of the 15, 16 candidates that the Ravens have spoken to for their head coach vacancy. He's 30 years old. He'll turn 31 later this month. He had Bo, and that Sean Payton offensive staff had Bo Nix playing with poise, playing with good decision-making. It was impressive. It was an impressive performance for a young player on that kind of stage. And I saw somebody that is well coached. And I think that Davis is maybe not the candidate right now for the Ravens at this point in his young career, but certainly a future candidate that could be very, very hot. I thought it was an impressive performance from Bo Nix, given the circumstances. But now, in comes Jarrett Stidham. Guys, he's got 4 NFL starts throughout his career. This is insane. I mean, the drama, the theater. Take a look. He's not attempted a pass all season. He's got 4 career starts in 7 years in the National Football League. He was once drafted by Bill Belichick to potentially be the successor one day of Tom Brady. That never worked out. He's got 1 career win, and as Opta Stats notes here, he'd be the first NFL quarterback to start the conference championship round or later after not throwing a single pass during the regular season. That goes all the way back to since quarterback starts were first tracked in 1950. Sean Payton has a track record, though, in terms of having some success with non-starting quarterbacks when he's been in a pinch in the past.
Career starts. His last pass was thrown week 18 of the 2023 season. Alex, can the Broncos go to the Super Bowl with Jarrett Stidham as their quarterback?
Greeny, they absolutely can, right? Like, if you think Sean Payton or the Denver Broncos are going to blink in this situation, you are crazy, right? This is a coach. Did you almost see in his press conference. I mean, heartbroken for Bo Nix. There was almost a little smirk on Sean Payton's face.
I seen it.
He literally said it. Watch out.
That's
You're gonna
Payton.
find out. And listen, that is him.
That is him.
This isn't his first rodeo with the backup quarterback. He has a history of success with backup quarterbacks. I got a list of them, just to name a couple. Jameis Winston went 5-2 with Sean Payton. Teddy Bridgewater went 5-1. And again, you think if the game plan is not going to change, right? That game we saw yesterday, they're throwing haymakers at each other. You better believe whoever they play next week, it's going to be the same formula.
Oh, this is going to be fascinating. I mean, just the storylines leading up to the AFC Championship game, knowing that Jarrett Stidham will start an AFC Championship title game against potentially either New England or Houston. This game is a little less than 30 minutes out. So we're going to take you right up until kickoff and talk about that at length, talk about what you should be looking for going into the day 2 and the couple games that we have coming up. But bottom line is, and let's not mince words here, Josh Allen wasn't good enough yesterday. And that's just the facts. 5 total turnovers, 4 of which he was directly involved in, is not good enough. And going into that game, Josh's postseason resume had been one of his accolades, one of his calling cards, that he had come up clutch in the previous time, more often than not in the month of January. And last night, that was far from the case. You obviously have to tip your cap to this Denver defense led by Vance Joseph, one of the many candidates that the Ravens have already spoken to. He has previous head coach experience. And so, look, this is a defense, much like the Houston Texans, among the best in the entire league. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Denver doesn't have a chance, depending on who the opponent is, coming up next weekend. With that defense, with the way they changed the game, and if Jarrett Stidham just game manages efficiently and smartly and intelligently, and they're able to run the football, I mean, it's anybody's game coming up next weekend. But again, I want to give a ton of credit to the statistics in terms of yardage and whatnot, and the score of last night when you see the number 30, and that's what Denver gave up to Buffalo. You can't put Vance and his defense in a box and judge them based on the score and the output. You got to go look at the way they changed the game, and that's exactly what they did, creating 5 turnovers, something that a Ravens defense is still searching for in the month of January in high leverage moments throughout the Lamar Jackson era. Now, games that are decided by inches, games that are decided in such close margins, they're very rarely, very seldom are they done without controversy. And last night was no exception in that regard right here. Take a look. This right here was, to me, a textbook defensive pass interference call made on Tre'Davious White. He is a Buffalo Bills defensive back. You might remember him. He was brought in at the trade deadline by the Ravens. I believe he was previously with the Rams, if memory serves, there last year. And I thought he played well for them down the stretch. Now, we all remember the role that he played in the divisional round a year ago, almost to the day, between the Ravens and Bills. But last night, in terms of the officiating controversy, I think the NFL got it right here. And I thought Kurt Warner made a great point in terms of a lot of the national narrative that you're seeing about the officiating, the influence, the role that it had in the end of this game and the ultimate outcome. And Kurt says, look, I know we all see things differently, but once again, I'm amazed by the, quote, let the players decide the game comments when we don't like a penalty/rule call. We do know committing a penalty or making a play within rules is also, quote, the players deciding a game, right? Just because someone else has to get involved doesn't mean the players aren't the ones responsible. Am I seeing this wrong? I think that's a great point. By the way, we're going to get to the Brandon Cooks part of the controversy in just a second, which is not as clear-cut in my opinion. But here is Trey White facing the music after an unsportsmanlike conduct. Remember, the game was over. It was a chip shot opportunity for Denver to go and win that game after that DPI call comes down. Then Trey just loses out, crashes out like I do with you guys in the live chat. And who knows, there could be a crash out incoming. I haven't had a chance to go and look at the live chat and some of the commentary that you guys are getting after me with today, but I will when I get a chance to throw this video. But Trey White, post-game, local media, here's his interview.
The interference at the end, was that a pure ticky-tack foul that they called?
I mean, I believe so. I thought that, I didn't interfere with the guy. When the ball got there, I swiped through, knocked the ball down, and fell on top of him. And, I just think that the crowd probably played a big-time factor in that. And also, referees are human, man, and, people make mistakes. And I just think that it should be up to the players to decide the game, man. With a game that's fought so hard, come down to the wire, plays like that. I mean, that's a professional bang play. As a defensive back, man, that's what you want. Take the guy to the ground and finish the play. And referees, they just don't know ball, man. I just think that, whenever a guy don't look back for the ball, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which you don't have to when you're out of phase, which I was out of phase and I caught back up with the guy and played through his hands. Once the ball got there, I didn't touch him before the ball got there. I feel like I finished through the pocket like I'm coached to do. And that's what it was, and I just think that they just had bad judgment on that play.
Oh, why did it have to be you, Trey? I think he's a great dude, and I enjoyed his time in Baltimore last year. He's a professional, obviously lost his cool there in the moment. Officials, what I'm getting at here is officials got it right. This is a textbook defensive pass interference. And look at the screenshot that I have to the right of Kurt's commentary on Twitter. I mean, the ball's not even in the frame yet, and Trey is draped on the wide receiver from Denver. So they got it right there. And unfortunately for Trey, this was somewhat of an outlier in what was a really tremendous finish for him in Buffalo this year. He finished with a coverage grade over the last 5 games for the Bills, 90.7, which was first among DBs. 3 catches allowed for just 1 touchdown. Interceptions and forced incompletions totaled 7 and a passer rating of 33.2 allowed. So good for him. Now, as for the play that will be talked about until the end of time, it's the Brandon Cooks catch that was actually ruled an interception. Insanity. This right here ultimately decided the game. Now, again, what I always like to do, and let me be clear and consistent on this, let me actually draw that back a second. This helped decide the game. This didn't decide the game. Denver's defense, Josh Allen's decision-making, decided the game. This helped decide the ultimate outcome of the game as I stay consistent, and I'll continue to say that, much like I did after the Ravens-Steelers. Now, the Isaiah Likely catch, right, that ruled not a catch, that was ruled an incomplete pass after Joey Porter Jr.'s defense of it. The Aaron Rodgers backwards weird fluky thing that happened with Teddy Buchanan. The Zay Flowers OPI, right? All of those extremely controversial. I think we don't have a lot of clarity on that, and I think a lot of people feel the same as you look around the National Football League about this play right here that ultimately helped decide the game. Brandon Cooks on the wrong end of the ultimate final call. It was barely even reviewed. It was a quick process. The Bills were absolutely apoplectic post-game, including Brandon himself, Brandon Cooks.
Of course, I'm always thinking I caught it. Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, when you look at the replay, did you think you caught it down by contact?
I feel that way, but at the end of the day, it don't matter ultimately, I think we all feel that way, you work so hard. Personally, just so thankful to be a part of this. And I look back and like, man, what can I have done to be able to alleviate some of that pressure from him? You just love this game so much. And when you come up short like this, it's going to sting for a long time, There's no, next week. Just love it,
Have you seen a replay of the play?
No, I have not. No. Like I said earlier, I'm always think I caught it.
Ooh, God. Sal, by the way, we had Sal on last week to talk about Joe Brady's candidacy. Sal's the sideline reporter for the Bills, right behind Brandon Cooks, doing good work there in the post-game locker room. Look, man, it's an emotional game, and ultimately it's why some players, we've seen this with the Ravens over the years, in these types of moments, minutes after these games wrap up and their seasons come to a screeching halt, some just can't bear the pain of getting in front of the media, in front of the microphone in those moments. So, look, I understand both sides. There's some that just don't want to, and they might say something that they regret. But I also tremendously respect a guy like Brandon Cooks to get up there and have that conversation, much like several of the Ravens did after the Week 18 regular season finale just a couple weeks ago. Now, Gene Steratore, CBS rules analyst, he had a few things to write here. At some point when reviewing plays, the league should consider adding a speed threshold for anything involving the element of time. When you slow plays down to 1/100th the speed, it distorts what actually happened and makes it look like, in this case, Cooks possessed the ball for seconds prior to losing it. The game is not played in slow motion or frame by frame for a catch. And he goes on to specifically note what designates what represents a catch. A, secure control of the ball. Check. B, 2 feet in bounds. Check. C, after A and B have been fulfilled, clearly performs any act common to the game, e.g., extend the ball forward, take an additional step, tuck the ball away and turn upfield, or avoid or ward off of an opponent, or he maintains control of the ball long enough to do so. This is the actual ruling. C is where there is a judgment needed since A and B are clearly met. Now consider this note to the rule. If a player who satisfied A and B but has not satisfied C contacts the ground and loses control of the ball, it is an incomplete pass if the ball hits the ground before he regains control, or if he regains control out of bounds. Because Cooks did lose control of the ball when he contacted the ground and the ball never contacted the ground, it was ruled an interception by Denver. Is that enough nuance and minutia for you guys in terms of the language, the rule book, some of the ambiguity that's attached here? Whew. Bills Nation is waking up today, I think, much like Ravens Nation woke up today after that Week 14 Ravens-Steelers game. We all remember the nuance, the flukiness, and some of the plays that could have gone either way, much like this one last night did. Ultimately, it goes in Denver's area. Sean McDermott, head coach of the Buffalo Bills, had a whole lot to say at the podium last night.
Yeah, so obviously I don't have the power to challenge, right? We're in overtime, so the flag is not an option to throw it down. So I called a timeout to try and get the process to slow down, because it seemed like the process was not slowing down. It was a rather rapid unfolding of the review, if there was a review, and so I called a timeout to try and slow it down. It would seem logical to me. It would seem logical to me that it make a lot of sense that the head official would walk over and want to go and take a look at it just to make sure that everybody from here who is in the stadium to there are on the same page. That's too big of a play, in my estimation, too big of a play, in a play that decided the game potentially as well, to not even slow it down. And that's why I had to call a timeout. It's not what I wanted to do, but I had to do it in order to make sure that I understood what was going on and that they did take a look at it. And it's hard for me to, and I've had a chance to look at it, it's hard for me to understand why it was ruled the way it was ruled. And if it is ruled that way, then why wasn't it slowed down? Just to make sure that we have this right. That would have made a lot of sense to me, to make sure that we have this thing right, because that's a pivotal play in the game. We have the ball at the 20, maybe kicking a game-winning field goal right there. So I'll just leave it at that. But I'm saying it because I'm standing up for Buffalo, damn it. I'm standing up for us. Because what went on is not how it should go down, in my estimation. That play, these guys spent 3 hours out there playing football, pouring their guts out, to not even say, hey, let's just slow this thing down. That's why I'm bothered.
In your eyes, was it catch down by contact?
In my eyes, it was. Yes, in my eyes, it was. But even if it wasn't, okay, let's just say that, and I'm being objective. Even if it wasn't, the players are owed, to me, hey, let's stop it, let's slow it down, let's put the head referee and give him a chance to look at the monitor just to make sure.
Boy, I have to think there's going to be some fines involved last night, whether it was Tre'Davious White hammering the ref with that helmet. I mean, he didn't actually make contact with him, but right in front of him, taking his helmet, slamming it into the turf. Sean saying what he said. I'm sure there's other locker room media scrum that I haven't had a chance to gather and look through, but ultimately, the Bills go home in the divisional round. It was wide open, so to speak, in terms of who was and wasn't in the dance at this point in the process with the postseason, straight up for grabs, given how open it is, given how open-ended the field is. And so Buffalo goes home in heartbreak. It was the Ravens in the divisional round going home in heartbreak a year ago, and now it's Buffalo this year. Josh Allen drops to 0-7. He is winless throughout his career in overtime. I'd say the same thing about Lamar if this statistic was up here, and really any quarterback. Wins are not a quarterback stat. It's something that is extremely impressive and will always be tied, especially from a national narrative standpoint, to the quarterback, and it's the single most position in all of sport, individually speaking. But wins, and in this case, losses, are not a quarterback stat. With that said, Josh did not do enough last night. 4 total turnovers. You tip your cap to the Denver defense led by Vance Joseph. But ultimately, Josh, as the MVP, the reigning MVP, according to the media from 2024, did not do enough in a bright stage where the lights were very, very bright last night in Denver. And Josh, at the podium, this one's getting a lot last night.
How hard is it to just get here again and have this happen?
It's extremely difficult. I feel like I let my teammates down tonight.
Your emotions normally aren't this emotional for us. Is what has brought this on?
Just missed opportunities throughout the game. It's been a long season. I hate how it ended, and it's going to stick with me for a long time.
I think it ended up being 5 turnovers overall. I know it just happened, but can you kind of take us into why it felt like you guys kind of got turned?
Yeah, can't win with 5 turnovers. I fumbled twice, threw 2 picks. When you shoot yourself in the foot like that, you don't deserve to win football games.
Boy, he's not kidding, and that's the harsh truth, right? Ultimately, Josh had his worst postseason performance of his career in what's been a successful month for him. Yeah, short of the Super Bowl, obviously. He and Lamar are still waiting to get there. Joe Burrow's waiting to win one, obviously. That's the big 4, along with Mahomes, who's already got 3 under his on his resume, I should say. But ultimately, look, 5 turnovers in a postseason game, in an elimination game, you're not going to win a lot of those. They still had a chance last night, and they had a damn good chance to win one, despite all that, and overcome those deficiencies. But that's not going to win you a high percentage of games in the month of January, and we all know that. So that right there is Josh Allen at the podium. That was the first of 2 yesterday. We haven't even gotten to the night one, which was a slugfest by Mike McDonald and the Seattle Seahawks that seemingly was over from the jump before it even started with Shaheed's return for a touchdown. I mean, you got to be shitting me. We're going to turn the page to that game, talk about these candidates as a whole, because Clint Kubiak's name certainly is hot after last night. Perhaps Robert Saleh has dropped in the minds of the fan base, given that his defense got torched last night. Certainly didn't help with San Francisco's offense turning the ball over and how undermanned they were, but we will have an objective conversation about all that. Go ahead and vote in the poll, guys. If you haven't already done so, we're coming up on 500 votes. And today's 4 options that I give you in terms of your next potential head coach in Baltimore, leading the way after his offense's performance last night, Sam Darnold's first playoff victory of his career, which has been tumultuous, up and down, all over the place. You name it, leads the way. 60%. Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak at 60%. Robert Saleh still getting 23% of the vote, even after last night's performance. Jesse Minter, Chargers defensive coordinator, bounced in the wild card round to no fault of his own on his side of the ball. They just couldn't put up any offense at all under Greg Roman, which showed him the door. Jim Harbaugh let him go. Minter's got 15% of the vote, and Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula, who interviewed initially with the Ravens, has 3% so far to start out. That's where we stand at the moment. Let's get to some super chats. Let's get a read in here, and then we will turn our attention to the other side of the game last night, the late one in Seattle, and we'll also start to set the table because we're minutes out from the first of two today in Foxborough getting underway as well. Appreciate you guys for being with me. Steve became a channel member, so he is officially a trosseteer, Bobby Baltimorean. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you, brother. Suntan Superman MMA agrees with what you guys are saying in the live chat so far. After last night, Clint should be our front runner, meaning Clint Kubiak, son of Gary, brother of Clay, who calls plays not on a full-time basis under Kyle Shanahan on the San Francisco side of things. Kobe says Ravens fans just want consistency. By coddling Josh every time he fails, the NFL and media are actually creating nuclear heat for him among NFL fans. Last night was so egregious, it looks like the mob has shifted against Josh. I think a lot of this gets blown out of proportion. There's no doubt that there's an inconsistency, an imbalance, if you will, between Lamar's postseason resume / analysis and the way he's critiqued on a national level from 1,000 feet up and the way Josh is. But I do think that this kind of, it's just like anything else. It takes on a life of its own. The snowball effect happens, and all of a sudden, you just have narrative upon narrative upon narrative. This will start to shift things over time, though, because look, Josh did not play well last night. There is no way around that, and that is the ultimate reason. 4 turnovers, 5 total, 4 of which he was directly involved in. That's why they went home, right? We can talk about all the officiating controversies all we want. But when your quarterback is playing that, and he had his moments, just as Lamar has had his moments as well. Legacy drives, big-time throws, right? But ultimately, you're paid to protect the football in the month of January. Josh didn't do it well enough to win last night. Mad Rasta says, great day to be a Raven. Bills collapse again and will keep the same coach. We don't know that to be true yet. Just to be clear, we don't know if they're going to retain McDermott. Typically, the first 48 hours after a loss like that, key for those decisions on the organizational side of things. So we'll hold tight on that. 4 turnovers in a game, but ESPN is silent about Josh. I've heard a lot of critique. I've heard a lot of, matter of fact, I was just listening this morning so I could come on here and confidently give you a feel for the temperature gauge of a lot of the national media. I mean, Marcus Spears sat up there with Jason Kelsey and all the rest of the crew, and they put it solely, Ryan Clark and everybody put it solely on Josh. So I'm not sure if that's, again, this is how things start to take a life of its own. There's probably people speaking about that. I don't know if Orlovsky's one of them. I know he's getting dragged online right now for complaining about the officiating down the stretch. Let the players play, things of that nature, which is why I brought in what I was more along the lines of with Kurt Warner. Letting the players play sometimes does, and last night was a great example. Sometimes letting the players play, that request, Tre'Davious White was playing, and it was a textbook defensive pass interference that helped shift the outcome of the game. Let the players play. Goes twofold. Kobe writes, today I'm even more upset about the MV pity. They stole an accolade from Lamar to set up this narrative for Josh, and when given a golden chance, he chokes. Mad Rasta says, Bills did offensive holding. The end zone, no call. Bills did offensive holding. The end zone, no call. Dark Thunder 35 says Josh has 15 fumbles in the postseason and lost 4, 2 of which were yesterday. Lamar has 7 fumbles and lost 4. That's insane turnover luck that finally ran out. Kobe writes, Calvin Johnson rule says you need to maintain control and survive the ground. Need to be able to hand the ball to the ref. Why Rodgers' call was wrong with the Teddy Buchanan. We all remember that from week 14. Appreciate you, KP. It's your 3rd super chat so far today. Thanks to all of you for being with me on this Sunday. Feels weird to not have Ravens football to dive into today, but that's the reality of it when you go home before the postseason even begins. Dark Thunder 35 says there was an obvious hold in the end zone that should have been a safety. Bills guard held the Broncos defender by the neck. Game would have been over then. Kobe also writes for us 4th super chat. If he's Superman, pray for Metropolis. Joe Jenkins is here with us, and he writes, offer Seattle 4 first-round picks for Mike McDonald. Let's get Eric DaCosta on the phone. Hey, Eric, would you be okay to part ways with the future of your organization for the next 4 years, where you've had a lot of success in, I might add, in the first round, the Linderbaums of the world, the Flowers of the world, the Hamiltons of the world. Jury's still out on Malachi Starks. I wouldn't say Marquise Brown was the biggest hit ever in the first round, but certainly an impact player that hit that 1,000-yard mark. But DaCosta would hang up the phone before it even rings. Appreciate you, Joe, for the super chat. I appreciate you guys all for being with me. And before this game gets underway, let me tell you a little bit about FanDuel. They're with us, meaning here inside this channel for the foreseeable future. They are sponsoring the Bobby Baltimore end of things all of 2026, and I'm thrilled to be with them. Go check them out, sportsbook.fanduel.com. You can find them on social media at FanDuel, including in the Twitter space. Let's take a look at what they have here and refresh things for some same-game parlay bets that they have as we just get minutes out from the first of two today. Let's take a look here. Will Compton and Taylor Lewin like these props for Sunday's Texans-Patriots matchup. Ramondre Stevenson, anytime touchdown scorer. Woody Marks, anytime touchdown scorer. Drake May going 175 or more yards in terms of passing yards. And CJ Stroud, that's the threshold, 175 or more passing yards. A few things to consider. Several, meaning over 22,000, have already placed some wagers in. And as we look at it right now, Houston, 3.5-point road underdogs as the national anthem gets underway on a rainy, cold day at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Going to be a hell of a game. Thanks to FanDuel for the continued support of the program. Let's get to the guest lines before we kind of transition to the second game yesterday, which, of course, was a blowout of epic proportions that now has Mike McDonald and the Seattle Seahawks set to host an AFC championship game on their home turf coming up next weekend. And, of course, the winner of tonight's game between the Rams and Bears in Chicago will end up traveling to Seattle. Appreciate you guys for being with me. You know the drill. 90 seconds on the clock. You guys are cooking today. Over 1,000 concurrents and counting. If you could like the video on the way in, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership. I'd appreciate it. And as the super chats come in, I'll continue to read them. Like Zyads, who says, common theme with polls. Hopefully you're wrong. Salah with a thumbs up. Not sure what you mean by that. Common theme with polls. Hopefully you're wrong. Salah with a thumbs up. We will talk about Robert and his defense, who had a forgettable, and that's probably putting it lightly, a forgettable performance last night in a game that was seemingly over, really, just as it started. Insane, especially coming off one of the games of the year in the previous window in the 4 o'clock hour. Juice Box, Maurice, and Trey highlight our waiting room on deck. Or it's a, God, it's been a long time since I did baseball commentating. In the batter's box, on the on-deck circle, I should say, in the on-deck circle. And like the man, not cleanup, but in that 3-hole, baby. You already know what Trey's doing in the 3-hole. Pause on that one. Juice Box, welcome to the program, brother. Appreciate you for being with me on a non-Raven Sunday. But given what's at stake with this head coach process and everything else, brother, it feels like anything but. We're rolling. Welcome.
What's up, man? No, I wouldn't take anything for Robert Saleh, because we got to remember too, like they're banged up, like beyond all recognition. So I mean, I'd still keep him up there. But I got to talk about this Josh Allen stuff. First of all, if they want to know whether or not, first of all, go back to week 1 against the Chiefs. Remember Isaiah Likely's toe, right? We all saw it. His toe was touching the line, which made it out of bounds, right? And what did Lamar and everybody say? Yeah, I believe it was a catch. Of course you believe it was a catch, but people still believe in Santa Claus. I mean, what are we talking about? That was, you have to complete the whole thing. If the DB wasn't there, Brandon Cooks came down with it and he hit a knee and had it rolled over and the ball fell out. Is that a catch? Hell no, it's not a catch. And a couple people already said it too, because there's a still shot of the Buffalo Bills player trying to get a piggyback ride off of the defensive lineman. That was clear offensive holding in the end zone, which should have been a safety. They should have never been in that spot to begin with. But they got to cook Josh, because 4 turnovers. He was running with the ball in his hand like it was a loaf of bread and got it batted out. Like this was bad. But come on, and Trey White, bro, That was pass interference. You got beat, you tried to recover, and you ran into the back of the DB. Like, stop crying. We Ravens fans can't cry, so damn it, Bills fans, you can't cry either.
Well said, Juice. Enjoy the games today, brother. Appreciate you for calling in, my man. And look, the reality is, he says it best. Josh has to get cooked, unfortunately. And I'm just saying, unfortunately, not based on anything other than the way I look at things objectively. I'd say the same thing with Lamar Jackson. I'd say the same thing with Burrow, and you name it. But that's the name of the game. And Lamar has had to face that wrath from a national perspective for years. And Josh will throughout the entire offseason. I'm sure there'll be some narrative spinners and you name it, and some blame absolvers. But the bottom line is Josh Allen had his worst performance when it mattered in the postseason. And he, along with the decision-making and some of the errors that were involved in their efficiency or lack thereof, and the shortcomings that led to offensive football that wasn't good enough, is ultimately. No, and I am objective. I like you, Shelly. I do. And I love when you call in, and I'm glad you did a week or so ago. But I'm seeing some of the chatter today. And this is unfair. You know, look, the reality is if you're going to make different statements about me and agenda-driven stuff and attaching different names and you name it, you have to call in and tell me that. And you come tell me why. That's how it goes here in this channel. It's a tight enough and small enough community that you can use the guest line link and you can come on and tell me why I'm these things. All right? It's a poll that I'm deciding on. It's not an agenda-driven poll. It's an objective-driven poll. And I objectively think that Brian Flores is not on the Ravens short list for reasons that I've talked about ad nauseum at this point. Okay? Man. On to the second game. And I like Shelley a lot, but that stuff frustrates me as the New England game gets underway as we speak. Drake May, big opportunity for him. Josh McDaniels, he will be under the microscope as the offensive coordinator today for the Patriots. And you know what, Evan? You as well, Evan. You as well. No. Evan, I'm sorry. Do you have part ownership in the channel? Do you? Sure seems like it at times in the live chat. Now, none of this works without you guys. But do I have to bend a knee based on your preferences? Or do I make it on a poll based on the way that I've been working around the clock to get to know, familiarize myself with these candidates, have conversations, have analysts and experts from their respective organizations, and make the poll based on that? Make the poll based on what we watched unfold yesterday, which is why Clint Kubiak is option number one. And I love it. When most people call in, it's reasonable. When the live chat goes unreasonable, I get frustrated by that. I do. And it's a tight-knit and small enough community to call it out. As for the Seattle thing, I'm working my ass off to give you guys as much of a fair and balanced and consistent amount of content that I can for weeks running now. And when that type of treatment comes in after a while, yeah, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I'm going to call it out. And two things can be true. None of this works without you guys, but when you go and throw things in with that are just unfounded and baseless in some cases, it's very frustrating. So no, I won't relax. I won't. Because I'm working my ass off to be as consistent as I can for you guys. And that'll continue, no matter how loud it is in the live chat. So vote for the 4 options or don't vote. Opening moments of this second divisional round game, the first of 2 today, I should say. Houston starts with it. But last night, the second of 2 certainly was thrilling's not the right word. I guess it was thrilling with the Shaheed return touchdown. And then after that, it wasn't really thrilling unless you're a fan of the Seattle Seahawks. 41-6. 41-6. Mike McDonald and company, coming off the bye that they earned throughout the regular season, smacked the San Francisco 49ers and send them home in the divisional round. It's the first NFC championship game since 2014 for the Seattle Seahawks. And of course, Mike Mack in year 2 is absolutely exceptional. He's got them clicking on all cylinders, and they're a scary team right now. Congratulations to Sam Darnold, his first playoff victory. And how about this statistic right here from Mike Mack? Take a look. I mean, are you kidding me? In his last 3 playoff games as a defensive coordinator / head coach, which of course goes back to 2023, Mike Mack's team have allowed a combined 0 points in the second half. 0. And that goes back to the dominance leading up to the Kansas City game. And if you go back to the Kansas City game, the AFC Championship game, what was the reason why they lost? Not Mike McDonald's defense. I know that. I know that for sure. And everybody in the waiting room is like, yeah, you're damn right. You're damn right. So as exceptional of a defensive streak that they've been on and how that will always continue to be the case until they say otherwise. How about Clint Kubiak? I mean, take the special teams touchdown out of there. You're still hanging a 34 spot on a San Francisco team that we'll get to Robert Saleh's defense in just a second. And it was a poor performance. And I think they overachieved this year, to be quite honest, given the injuries, given what they dealt with from an availability standpoint. But this to me, this vaults 2 people into conversations on different sides of the spectrum. Mike McDonald's getting vaulted into that status of like, oh, this guy's here and he's here right now and he's here to stay, which I know is like salt in the wound for you guys because he was in the building and I get that. But on the flip side, it's like, yo, who's this dude Kubiak? I'm not talking about Clay. It's Clint. And what's this guy all about? What's his candidacy all about? He's sought after. He's a coveted candidate. There's no doubt about it. The Ravens have already spoken to him. And as the week kind of gets started here for the Ravens starting tomorrow after these divisional round games are in the rear view, just a few things to keep in mind. Wins by Denver and Seattle, which took place yesterday. That means that teams will have to wait another week to conduct second interviews with their potential head coaching candidates. And there's a lot of names that you see on the list that the Ravens at least had initial interest in. So this is some of the logistics and the nuance that you have to keep in mind as to why this process could be very drawn out if indeed the Ravens still have their heart set on someone who's still in the postseason. That's Clint Kubiak. That's Vance Joseph, and that's Davis Webb. And we'll have to see who that is after today's all said and done, because there are several other candidates that will coach today, including the Rams assistants and including, does Houston and New England have any candidates? No. So the rest of today will just be looked at in tonight's game, 6:30 tonight with the Rams assistants. The rest were yesterday, and then some, in Robert Saleh's case, have been bounced. And so he now is free, and he might even be interviewing with the Ravens for all we know as we speak. I expect that graphic to drop either later tonight or to tomorrow morning, because he has a scheduled virtual interview, the first with the Ravens today. So like Pelissero notes here in this graphic, 49ers offensive coordinator who doesn't call the plays full-time under Shanahan. He is now free to be spoken to. Same thing with Saleh, Joe Brady. They can all interview in person starting on Monday. So Saleh has virtual interviews today with the Titans and the Ravens. And it looks like Brady, meaning Joe Brady, offensive coordinator for Buffalo, has, let's see, what does he have here? It's the first time I read the bottom line here. Ravens and Dolphins. Okay. And it looks like Clay is being looked at by Pittsburgh. So that's just kind of as you set the scene for the week coming up. That's where things stand on the timing and structure. At the same time, this was an ugly final pitch, if you will, for Robert Saleh. It was. That was tough. And it was tough to watch really throughout. Now, in the spirit of the balanced, objective viewpoint, no Bosa, no Warner. The offense turned it over 3 times. I thought that they were overachieving as a defense to begin with, given those personnel limitations. But that's a tough performance. And if that's the final pitch, if you will, the final case to be made, if you're the Ravens hiring team led by DaCosta, Sashi, Ozzie, and then Steve once it gets down to a finalist on a short list, yeah, I could see why that's not exactly the most attractive final hour impression to be made. But as Steve said himself on Tuesday, they are keen to the circumstances involved. Now, is San Francisco a poor job or a tough job? Certainly not. I think that was Steve's words, right? A tough job. He's talking about the likes of the Miamis, the New Yorks, right? When it comes to Flores and McDaniel and Saleh, who had previous stints with organizations that are not the most, highly functioning. So that all needs to be said. And now it's up for the hiring team and the hiring council to make those decisions based on just how much that final lasting impression will last or is just an outlier in their candidacies. Remains to be seen. Guest lines are open. Maurice, Trey, Judah. I see I inspired Shelly to come on as well. There will be no yelling. We will have a... Listen, and it's not even, I want to be clear before I get back to the guest lines. It's never one person that sets me off. It's a cumulative effect of frustrations that stem from the snowball effect in the live chat where things, you guys know how it goes. Words get put in your mouth. Narratives start to take on new lives of their own. There's sometimes defamatory statements that are being made, and at times it starts to bubble, and burst. So let me just be clear as I get back to the guest lines on that. It's never personal, at least not on my mind, on my end. I did raise my voice, though. For that, I shouldn't do that. Zayad writes, Saleh's getting us a ring because he's a locker room guy with a clown emoji. Zayad he's a contributing factor to my anxiety. He also writes, so Saleh needs top 3 players in positions to win. Never said that. And again, this is where words start being jottled around, misconstrued, you name it. No, I'm not backtracking at all. I'm just giving you guys an idea of where my mindset is. Back to the guest lines we go. The Patriots reached the end zone first, halfway through not even the opening quarter. Douglas with a 28-yard reception and penning a PAT. New England up 7-0 to start things out. All right, back to the guest lines we go. 90 seconds on the clock. Thanks for being with me today. It's divisional round weekend, of course, and Maurice has got something to say. Trey, Judah, Shelly, all on deck as well. 90 seconds on the clock. Take it from here, brother. Welcome. Oh, you aren't going to mute yourself, are you? You're not going to do that. You ain't going to do that here. Trey, step him up, baby.
I'm aware of that. That happens to me. So, all right. My take right now has been killing me to say this. Bobby, that game, Seattle versus San Fran, who was the most contributing factor? Was it the offense or the defense?
The ultimate contributing factor to the loss on San Francisco's side?
Yeah. No. Who dominated the best, offense or defense?
For which team? Seattle?
Seattle.
I would say Seattle's defense.
Yeah. Who runs that same system and, came together in Michigan a long time ago, probably 2022?
Yeah, I'm following. I'm following your logic.
Yes, I want to prove this to the live chat because obviously I've been going crazy about this and a lot of people don't like to listen to it. Clint Kubiak did the right job. He did the average job. He wasn't tested at all. That was not a test for him. I feel like that defense put him in situations where you cannot mess up. All you have to do is run the ball. When you're set up on that other side of the field and you just run the ball, that just helps you. So my thing is everybody's overblowing this Clint Kubiak thing. We'll wait until next week. But Right now, I think the defense, obviously, well-known, Jesse Minter and Mike McDonald, which should have no offense to anybody who's saying like, oh, going back to the Ravens, John Harbaugh tree. Guess who's part of the John Harbaugh tree? And that's Mike D. And he showed up, and they're good friends. And obviously, that's gonna stick out more to me than an offense that just did the average job.
Thanks, brother.
I'll see you.
Appreciate you. 3 takeaways to Trey's point really sets up And offense, it does. And that's what Seattle did last night. 3 takeaways, controlled the clock, played clean football, impacted the game defensively. Sam Darnold managed the game, made the winning throws. They ran the ball effectively, led by Kenneth Walker. The formula was pretty. Again, Darnold didn't do anything that wows you, but he makes winning plays and he plays clean. 12 of 17, 124 yards, a touchdown. He was sacked twice, finished with a quarterback rating of 110.9. The operation was clean. Kenneth Walker, 19 totes, 116 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also gets involved in the passing game at times as well, 3 for 29. In a game where Jackson Smith and Jigba goes 3 for 19 on 4 targets, they put up a 41 burger. Now that helps when you take one to the house, which Shaheed did from the jump to get them on the board literally from the opening kickoff. But I see what Trey's point is, and it does lead you to be intrigued, maybe more so than some of you already are, by Jesse Minter's candidacy and what he could potentially do for Baltimore. Guest lines are open in terms of how you came in. It's chronological in terms of how you came in, and there's 90 seconds on the clock as we approach the 9-minute and 30-second mark of this first of 2 games today. New England leads Houston 7-0. Let's go back to the mute man himself and see if he can get his audio figured out. Maurice, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Bobby, can you hear me this time?
I can.
Thank God. Having the equipment malfunction was not on my bingo card. But first, I want to start off with my reaction to last night's game between Seattle and San Francisco. I mean, yeah, I'm still on board with Robert Saleh as coach. Now, I know, just like I am, a lot of us aren't really pleased with the outcome of the game on San Francisco's side of things. You know, the defense, despite them missing Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, it's like they got 41 dropped on their heads. And, you know, that was a difficult pill to swallow if you're an Niners fan. And another thing is, I feel like what's also the difference maker is the departures of both Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, if that's his name. They shipped those 2 off to Denver in the offseason. So it was only a matter of time before missing key pieces on the defensive side of the ball was going to come back to bite them. And, you know, San Francisco just so happened to fall victim. So, you know, sucks to be them. And another thing about Josh Allen, truth be told, I do not want to see any more comparisons between Josh and Lamar again, because 4 turnovers committed in that ball game, inexcusable. And another thing is this. In Josh Allen's 8 seasons in the league, he has fumbled the ball a grand total of 86 times. He has lost 33 throughout his career. And 4 out of his 8 seasons, he has lost the ball. Well, not lost the ball. He has fumbled the ball 10 times or more in his 4 out of 8 seasons. So you think Lamar has his fair share of troubles with ball security, you can easily say the same thing for Josh Allen. And I feel like it is up to media to hold Josh Allen accountable for his fair share of miscues in one of the game's biggest stages.
Thanks,
but
brother.
that's all I
Appreciate
got for y'all.
Yeah, I think what wasn't debatable going into last night was that Josh had the more prolific, successful, statistically and win-loss record postseason resume compared to Lamar. And that doesn't change after last night. What does change is that he had a legitimate clunker, which leads you to believe that, look, it's an uphill battle given the state of the AFC and given some of these teams that are coming on and how much parity there is. And Josh's worst postseason performance, and certainly one that he will take the blame game and deservedly so for, with 4 turnovers, 5 total as an offensive operation. It starts and ends with the quarterback, how you run the operation, how you play a clean game, and none of that was done well enough from Josh's perspective last night. Now, when you take a look at the 16 candidate list, and we know that is a number that is 16, there's still a mystery candidate that has not yet been uncovered, so we'll have to wait and see who that ends up becoming, but you can subtract 1. It is now a list of 15 candidates. Kevin Stefanski is going to Atlanta. He is the next head coach of the Falcons. He's a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. He flew to Atlanta on Saturday. Their new leadership team, led by the president of football operations, Matt Ryan, who just retired from CBS or left CBS, I'm sure was integral part of this process. And now the ex-Cleveland Browns head coach, who spent the last 6 seasons with them, is going to Atlanta. So cross that name off the list. And as you take a look at the head coach tracker, there was once 9 vacancies. You can call it 7 now, with the Ravens being one of them. Certainly the most attractive job out there, I think. And John Harbaugh did finalize his contract, 5 years, $100 million with the New York Football Giants. And now he's going to lead Jackson Dart and company potentially to a turnaround for the first time in well over a decade. They're looking for relevance. We'll see if John can do that at 63 years of age. As we take a look at more candidates, news, remember the Ravens casted a wide net. One of them is Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator in Cleveland, but the Browns are taking a look at him. He's earned a second interview. Remember, he would be a retread hire, if you will. Did not have a good, successful first stint with the Detroit Lions earlier on in his career, but has coordinated championship caliber defenses over the last several seasons with Cleveland. So that'll be something to look out for if that materializes in the AFC North. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh, according to Schefter, as of today, they're expected to speak with former Cowboys head coach, former Packers head coach, Mike McCarthy. He's a free agent. He's from Pittsburgh, worked with Steelers general manager Omar Khan in New Orleans all the way back in 2000. So just to catch you up to speed on what's going on around the league, what's going on in the AFC North, and most importantly, this list of vacancies that now totals 7. Cross off Atlanta, cross off New York, cross off Stefanski from a Ravens perspective. Back to the guest lines we go, but a super chat has come in first. It's Darian. What's up, Darian? Appreciate the 20 spot from you, brother. He says, the coaching search has been exciting to see this year since we're getting real-time views of how they operate in the postseason. There are a few coaches on the list who really showed out. We appreciate all you do, Bobby. I appreciate you for being here, Darian. Thanks for the 20 spot. Thanks to your for your perspective here today. 6:30 and change left in this opening frame in Foxborough. Patriots still lead the Texans 7-0. 90 seconds on the clock. Judah and Shelley in terms of in the batter's box and on deck. Judah, talk to us, brother.
Hey, what's going on, Bobby? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, listen, man, I want to start off by saying that I appreciate that caller, Trey. I think putting things into perspective, because most people will look at what the Seattle did and they will say Kubiak did a great job. I don't think people look at football for what it is. Football is actually an agreement and cooperation between offense and defense. You have to know how these two groups help each other and hurt each other. I want to put this in the 41 points you see. Most people will look at that and say the offense played great, but they're not taking into account that to score 41 points and your opponent only scored 6, that means your defense had to have multiple stops in a row. Most of the time, these multiple stops in a row are a result of 3 and outs, not just turnovers, because 3 and outs are more common than turnovers. So what this tells you is, in the game of field position, if you're forcing the opponent to punt the ball, in the game of field position, they're trying to punt the ball as far as they can to the opponent's field to give them a long field to work with. But if your defense is so good that they're getting 3 and outs before the offense can move the ball, then you spend the whole game on your opponent's side of the field. This is how you get a 41-6 blowout. So the defense, again, of Mike McDonald was the reason for this blowout more so than the offense of Kubiak. We still need a defensive coach. I don't like that people see this and they're saying, oh, let's get Kubiak. No, we still need defense, whether that's Flores, whether that's Salah or the guy Mentor. I don't know much about Mentor, but Lamar needs a defense. Lamar will score points regardless. You give him talent, Lamar will score points regardless of who the offensive coordinator is. We still need to go for defense.
Thanks, brother. Great call, man. Appreciate you. Safe travels out there. Connor Stallions, funny name always when it comes to the Michigan allegations and scandals from the past, but he was a former Wolverine, former Michigan assistant, and he just noted something that I think helps support Judah's argument here. The 49ers never entered the red zone all game. All game. Mike Mack, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Mack. 2 things can be true. They played a clean game offensively. It was an efficient operation led by Sam Darnold, set up by Clint Kubiak. But the defense certainly set them up for a cakewalk, particularly when special teams helps out and gives you that 7-point cushion before the game really even begins. So look, it's not to demean or take away from Clint's candidacy at all. It's just we're digging deeper, digging into it. Let's air it out, Shelly, shall we? 90 seconds on the clock. Appreciate you guys for being with me today. Over 1,000 concurrents and counting on a busy Sunday. The divisional round is underway, day 2. And of course, this is not the game from a candidacy standpoint to watch if you're a Ravens fan. Tonight's is between the Rams and Bears. Let's see what that defense is all about for LA, knowing that Chris Shula is their coordinator. And then on the offensive side of the ball, under McVay, is the pass game coordinator, Nate Scheelhaus. Both of those guys have they've spoken to the Ravens on an initial first basis virtually in terms of the interview process. So 90 seconds on the clock. Let's open it up. Shelly, good to see you. What you got for me? Lay it on me.
Okay, Bobby, where you want to start?
Oh, no. The floor is yours. Obviously you got under my skin a little bit with some of the comments. Like I said, I will reiterate that it was not solely you. I did not mean to cross any line in terms of my outside voice being used. And I'm going to go ahead and refresh your clock here when I'm done. But you tell me why how about this? You tell me why you don't think I've been objective throughout this process. That's what I'm genuinely curious to know.
Okay. So first, I think you have not been objective because you should be highlighting every candidate that they have interviewed thus far. They haven't even talked to Saleh yet, and you're showcasing him. Let's look at the candidates they have. Or if you want to showcase Saleh, how about you have where the offensive candidates stack them up together versus the defensive candidates because Pashadi, EDC, all of them are going in a certain direction. They're either going to go offense as head coach or defense. I believe that you should be showcasing all of the candidates so we can see who they've interviewed. And I think that your portrayal, your talks about Flores, that's why I go so hard for him, because I think it's very subjective. I think it's very, honestly, a little bit disrespectful. Because yes, he does have a lawsuit. Yes, he does have things that have happened in the past. But I don't know any candidate, a retread candidate especially, that doesn't have something going on in the past. Maybe not a lawsuit against the NFL. But I think it was yesterday you had mentioned that you had thought that he was, you didn't say it, but it was implied that he's a Rooney Rule candidate.
No,
That's
no.
how it was. That's how it was implied. That's how it seemed like you were talking about. And he has had, I think it was part of his lawsuit, kind of started it, was because he was getting these interviews and he knew that he was a Rooney Rule candidate. And he actually declined those. So I don't believe that he would have taken this interview if he really thought that he had no chance. And I don't think that Baltimore, especially like just knowing how Baltimore is and how they pride themselves on being a certain way, that they would make him their Rooney Rule candidate. Why couldn't it be Weaver? Why is the Rooney Rule? Joseph's, that Scheelhaus, Mike McDaniel, even though he may not look, he is considered a minority. I mean, that's my thing. I think that all 22 did a really good thing about him, or others too, just explaining how they roll and everything. And I think honestly, Saleh and Flores can be 1A, 1B in my opinion.
Okay.
And I just think that you have not been objective like you claim to be. You have not been objective.
Okay,
and that's what I believe.
All right. I appreciate you calling in to tell me that. Obviously, I'm going to push back against that in terms of, I mean, heck, we're talking about 15 or 16 candidates. So at the end of the day, one, I do believe that every single one of them has been covered. In terms of airtime, you are right to say that there has been an imbalance in airtime, which is just simply the math in some cases for what I have, my wherewithal, the overhead, how much it takes to come up with content. And then I think where it gets into this is what I genuinely believe here with where I have a case to be made on the pushback side of things is you have to look at this in terms of differentiating who deserves the coverage on a day-to-day, when a lot of it has to do with the competition. What kind of interest are they garnering around the league in other vacancies? Jesse Minter has been at the top of that list. Salah's right there with him as well. And that's not to say that the Ravens wouldn't go an outside the box hire that comes with maybe a more level of risk attached to it based on his ongoing lawsuit with the NFL. And I'm not sitting here saying that every single candidate doesn't have risk attached to it, because that wouldn't be true. Every single candidate, particularly ones that have had first go arounds that were not successful, they all come with their own levels of risk. But it has to be, at the end of the day, I have to come up with what I think is a reasonable, objective lens and viewpoint for how these candidates are starting to stack up, how they're looked out externally. But ultimately, what I think I continue to go back on when it comes to Flores, and I went ahead and played it because you guys in the live chat were asking for it, and Femi called me yesterday and said, you need to play this more and focus on what Matthew Collar told you in terms of level-headed analysis that he gave for what went really well and doesn't match up with some of these reputational strikes against Flores over the last 2 years in Minnesota. The fact that his players have backed him, the fact that he got a chance from Kevin O'Connell after a year under Mike Tomlin's tutelage, and he turned them around. He turned household name, like no names, into household names like Van Ginkel on the defensive side of the ball. And so I will continue to play that and share that as much as I can. But I think ultimately I'm genuinely telling you and everyone else out there that's been frustrated with the coverage differentiation or lack thereof, that at some point it really comes down to the objective analysis that I'm trying my damnedest to do, the research, and ultimately how this is starting to shake out when you read the tea leaves, the national coverage, and everything else out there with the other vacancies as well in terms of popularity. So I hope that makes sense to you. I hear what you're saying. I'm going to take that and reason with it and hopefully make adjustments that are to your liking. And I'm glad you called in today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shelly. Bye-bye. Over 1,100 concurrents and counting today. Appreciate all of you that have weighed in, whether it be through Super Chat or the guest call-in feature. Ziad writes, ZO equals a head coach because we have injuries, 40 and 92. Give Orr grace, guys. Ziad, did you just change your head coach candidacy to Zach from Flores? Is that what I'm seeing here? There's no doubt big number 92 up front was a massive loss for them. Huge loss. Texans tight end Dalton Schultz heading to the locker room. That's a big loss for Houston, if indeed he's done. That's going to be something to watch as it relates to the game that's going on in Foxborough at the moment. 7-3, waning minutes of the opening quarter in New England. Patriots lead the Texans. Back to the guest lines we go. Take us home, Richard. Take us home, brother. What you got for me today?
First off, I'm going to call off your that last super chat you had. That guy was putting racial Asian statements the last time I saw him on the live chat. He was calling me Jackie Chan, talking about eating French fries, and then saying shit about being Asian. So fuck you. So yeah.
Ziad?
Yeah, I remember that name. Now,
right,
maybe
Ziad.
it was somebody else. Maybe it was somebody else that was very similar.
We'll
but I'm just calling that out.
If it's Ziad, obviously, consider that a major warning, and there will only be one. All right, go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and reset your clock. What do you got for us today?
Thank you. I'm gonna piggyback a little bit on what Shelly said, because I kind of agree with that. And Flores is not even a number one pick. My concern with Flores is that I'm not sure what his coaching staff is going to look like. And so I think from a defensive standpoint,
thank you. I didn't even have a chance to mention that.
But
that's part of the conversation. Who's he coming with?
So he's not my number one. But I agree with what Shelly is saying. You know, I think folks are being very vocal because it's kind of being clear that he's being glossed over. Now, if you totally feel like he's not going to be the head coaching candidate, I think that's perfectly reasonable and fair. I just think that, you know, it's creating people getting louder and louder because they're not feeling like they're being heard.
Can I
And so
pause you
that
for a second? Let me pause you for a second.
go ahead.
I think I'm being unheard. And that's what's frustrating about this. Because what you just said leads me to believe that even when I do mention him and I give you guys my reasoning, which I tried to just do with Flores, it's going unheard. And my pushback and my theory, not to put words in Shelley's mouth, because I won't do what I don't like to be done to me, but I think some of your preferences out there, the preference is getting in the way of the objectivity. And that's my pushback against it. I do not believe Brian Flores is a bona fide finalist for the Ravens, and I have good reason for that. I haven't yet gotten what I feel to be a compelling counter to that from someone who's been loud in the live chat for why he should be. And when you go unheard repeatedly and you talk for a living, it's frustrating. I'll go ahead and put a few more seconds on the clock for you.
No, I get where you're coming from. I do. My only like rebuttal to that is two candidates that were, addressing some of the comments about the polls. I understand that's your poll. You can decide what the hell you want on that. I'm not even going to argue that, but I would just say I think that there is a focus, not even a focus, but there is some potential playing with the idea of Stefanski and Chris Shula. I'm not sure about Chris Shula just because they age. I think he's great. I just don't know if he's going to be able to be a head coach. I think he's 30. He's younger than you at this point.
Well, no, that's Webb.
Well, is that Webb? Okay, take that back.
This is a great example. There's so many candidates that it is sometimes hard to make everybody happy. It's hard. Yeah. It's really hard.
And
you can feel.
Brother, I'm one of your biggest supporters.
No, I know. I love you. I'm just saying it's so hard. Like I can't make everybody happy because you can feel damn near 2 NFL teams with the amount of candidates that they've brought in. Thanks, brother.
So I mean, the other one was Stefanski. I think Stefanski, no. He fucked up 2 quarterbacks. He messed up the Baker Mayfield and the Deshaun Watson situation. Granted, that was also Andrew Berry, who should be fired at this point already. And then you can argue that he fumbled the Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders situation. Just because I would say there's a lot of noise, may not be his pick, but I mean, hell, everybody should have had a chance to be playing with the number 1 squad in Cleveland before the season started. There was not a clear number 1 in Cleveland. But I'm gonna try to be really quick. I know I'm over. My number 1s, like I said, Flores is not my number 1. My number 1s are going to be Jesse Minter. Actually, my number 1s are really 3 people: Jesse Minter, Mike McDaniel, and Clint Kubiak. So Clint Kubiak, okay, yeah, the defense in Seattle is phenomenal. But let's not forget that Sam Darnold had Justin Jefferson, and I can't even remember the other guy who's on the Minnesota Vikings. And he's been to the playoffs before, and they were trounced. Versus this time around, they look like a very competent top-tier offense. And so it takes 2 sides of the ball, in my opinion, to be able to do what you did to San Fran. Understand injuries and whatnot, but San Fran did not fight at all against them. Now, that's my argument for Clint. My argument for Justin Minter, I know a lot of people do not like him. My rebuttal is, a lot of the things that are being said about Jesse Minter are the same things that they said about Mike McDonald. And look what Mike McDonald's doing right now. So I'm like, he's very, very high on my list. I think he is us correcting us, the AFC Championship. I'm going to be really, really quick. 10 more seconds. Is that okay? 10 more seconds? You said no?
We setting precedents out here? Go ahead.
So Mike McDaniel, I know a lot of people might be pushing back against him too, but all I'm saying is he had to work with Tua, and how everybody loves Flores. Flores didn't even like Tua. That's it.
Thanks, Rich.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother. Guys, almost went 90 for you today. I kind of want to watch this game as well. I'm sure you guys do. Appreciate all of you who took the time to call in today. Obviously, it was another spirited show as this process gets more and more robust and deep into it. Would love for you guys to join the Discord server. There are close to 1,200 members. We're getting close. It's a great group of not only like-minded Ravens fans, as you see here. I didn't even see this right here. Marcus just put on. What's this for Marcus? This is pretty cool. Just a bunch of flock photos, it looks like. Not sure where this is from, but great to have Marcus a part of the crew. And it's just 24/7. Look at Ing. Look at Ing and Marcus. That's my guy Ing. I got to have him on the channel at some point. Let's give that a fire emoji, shall we? But anyway, you see this? Look at it. And then, of course, just like everything, take a look. Wolf says, the solid glaze continues. This is the shit that I get. Take a look at this. The solid glaze continues. Richard, who I just had on, I wish I kept him on. I can't stand that shit. Bobby's creating drama for nothing. What the? I just can't even. I really can't. Look at this. Not a chance you read this is getting Evan all riled up. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Wolf's chat. Let's see what Wolf is typing about right now. I just updated the pinned comment. If you want to come join this group, which apparently is just a slugfest on Bobby, would love for you to do so. 1,177. I love how this is happening in real time right now. Son of a mother. Look at this. Yeah, you guys know the words that drive me bonkers too, don't you? Discord access. Would love for you guys to join. 20. So I got to shift my thinking here. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Bobby's slugfest head. I'm a piñata. Look, now everybody's coming in. Take a look. And Z, consider yourself on the watch, Z, because there's an allegation out there aimed at you. So I'm watching your ass. Come join, guys. It's a great group. Did Drake May just cough up the football? Sure seems like it. Did the Houston Texans just force a turnover? Yep. Is it coming back? Is it Stand? Is it Al-Shair? He's a beast. Yep. Turnover for D'Amico Ryan's group. 53 seconds left to go in this opening frame. CJ Stroud and company take over at their own inside New England's 30. CJ's been struggling this postseason so far, but when you have a defense that's on the other side of the ball, whoo, boy. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, join the group, guys, if you could. Enjoy the rest of the game. Who knows? Maybe I'll go live later on tonight. I'll have to wait and see. But if not, you guys know the drill. Sarah and I will be live at 12 noon Eastern, as we always are, Monday. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks to FanDuel. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group. Thanks to all of you for popping by. I appreciate you all. Every single one of you. Super chat donors, guest call-ins, live chatters, Twitter users, YouTube subscribers, Trosseteers. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the day. Appreciate you guys. Talk soon.